You're listening to the PT Pintcast, where smart people in healthcare come to make noise. Here's your host, Jimmy McKay.
All right, our guest right now returning to the show, obsessed with systems, not just how things work. I feel like why they work and why they might break or how to make it better. Someone who's seen the complex web of clinical operations, but see it like a circuit board, and maybe where I learned this term from an engineer, points of failure. Not the whole thing isn't bad, it's just a point of failure. The person that we're going to talk to today, constantly analyzing how decisions are made in one corner of the organization, how it affects the others. It's called a ripple. One thing affects others. We know this, cause, effect. Today we talk systems thinking, clinical innovation, what happens when PTs are empowered to actually fix the things breaking under the surface before they fall. Welcome Alex Bendersky back to the show. Alex, man, good to see you.
Pleasure to be here, Jimmy. This has been years in the making, and finally I get a presence here. It is truly a joy.
Well, we had you on the show in DC.
True. Yeah. No,
we did that, the Future of Rehab Therapy Summit. As someone who went to that's Drew Contreras of APTA going, all right, let's throw a bunch of people in the room and see what happens. What would you, this is not on the script, but what'd you think about that event? And then what would you hope that event feels like, smells like, tastes like 10 years from now if they keep doing it?
I think it's a perfect reflection of our profession, right? Like I think during a panel, you had 5 panelists that are these brilliant entrepreneurs that are designing technology that can help MSK care. And like when it came time to question the panelists, there was like a line of 2 people. Nobody had any questions. And then when there was a commercial panel of like how to monetize this, the line was out the door. So like we just, as an industry, we care so much about commercialization. We have so little, is our profanities allowed in this episode? Or?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, so we give so few fucks about actual content and substance, right? Like we just want to make money on it, which to me, like that, I think the entire conference was an excellent idea. But it was not the future of rehab. It was the present of rehab. If you want to do the future of rehab, you really have to look into what's ahead, not what's here.
Yeah.
And certainly getting a keynote speaker that sells soap is always a plus, but soap is not the future.
Right. I mean, I think the guys from Source Soap are there to show you like, hey, you can have an idea and you can just do something with it. Like, I think that was a great story. It's a great human story. But I think you're right, which is like what's around. The first time I ever heard this term was from a guy, Guy Kawasaki. Like I had never heard of this guy. Yeah, I'd never heard of him. And then I read his book like 10 years ago or something. And he was like employee 7 at Apple, or I don't know, top, one of the first people there. The term I'm talking about is like paradigm jumping, which is like, and he explained it in his book, which was like, I don't need you to make the widget red, even though no one's made it red. That doesn't jump a paradigm. I need you to make it wireless, or I need you to make it think for me or predict and not react. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's how things how things progress, is when you, maybe an example, when Apple changes their charger every 3 years and they don't really give you the option, that's sort of the only way. You have to sort of burn the boat. You can't go back. There's no undo the update. You have to go forward. And the funny thing is 6 months later, you're like, oh, this is actually better. I actually like it better. It's like, yeah, but you had to go through the uncomfortable part of doing it. So maybe that is a good point. It's like, that was a good snapshot of the present of where we are, but what is peering around the paradigm to see what comes next?
It's the nudge versus sludge, right? Like nudging, like the Apple changing chargers, that's a nudge moment. Like they're nudging you into like changing something that may be more efficient. And sludge is these purposeful friction points. Like you create friction because you want to slow down progress, because you want people to actually absorb it. Like both hold value. Like that. Yeah. The sticky shit on the floor, that's sludge.
Yep. There's one that I saw, and I can't prove that it happened, but I play video games and I play Call of Duty, and they stopped sort of moderating one of the games, and they made like cheating sort of run rampant because they had a new game coming out. So they were pissing people like me off, who were like, hey, I just want to be on an even playing field. Like, I know you're better than me, but like, I want to get better. But then they just allowed like auto aim, aimbot, cheating. Guys were under the map and could just kill you, and you couldn't do anything about it. So I would rage quit. And I think that they're doing that because they're like, we have a new game coming. Like, this game is just, hey, lad, you can't do anything about it. And I'm going, I don't know anything about programming, but I'm like, you could easily ban these people who are cheating pretty damn quick. Like,
Dude, yeah. I mean, have you ever heard of a concept of planned obsolescence?
yes, that's what they're doing. Planned
That
obsolescence.
is planned obsolescence. Like the first light bulb, I think, was designed to last 100 years, and then Edison.
That's not a great business model.
No. Like I can't sell a light bulb to last 100 years. We need to so they spent thousands of dollars re-engineering so that it actually is going to start. Like I think same goes for all of this. But like, let me ask you this, because if we're going to, what is the planned obsolescence for our industry? I think right now we're in that, like, you see all the chatter, right? Like, and I agree with you. Actually, I really like your point of view. You're an optimist. I think you're a realist, but you're an optimist. So you see that there's no reason to be down in a profession when it's going through a hard time, but you have to have action steps. And I think that we are, like, the obsolescence is that old antiquated model. Like, how do we get out of this obsolescence model into something that actually is resilient? So what's
I think I had a year, and again, I understand. It's really easy for me to make predictions and then never have to back it up. It's like being a weatherman. It's like, it's probably going to be great tomorrow. When it's not, it's like, well, weather, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think I said, I like throwing out crazy ideas, which was like, is the future of rehab a person who's a PTOT speech? Like, is there this physiatrist absorbing all these things? Maybe not all of them, because I feel like speech is sort of on an edge. Like, but is there, like, we started as therapy aids, right?
Yeah.
Which was this
Reconstruction aids.
Right. Reconstruction aids, right? Is there this like I didn't even know what a physiatrist was until I was like halfway through PT school. Like I had no idea. And then I was like, oh, they're sort of like us, but they do all this other stuff. And someone was like, yeah. And I go, doesn't that make us nervous? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, I don't know, man. When you start like sanding things down and getting rid of the bumps, maybe we morph into something like that. I don't know.
I think that's a perfect segue into the complex systems theory, right? So the interconnectedness and nonlinearity is part of the connected complexity. Is that the interconnectedness? Like everything is connected, dude. Like all of the things, all of the nodes are connected somehow, right? We're all atoms from some star that blew up a millennia ago.
Right.
But at the same time, it's not like the progress is non-linear. It's never linear. It's at best it's curvilinear, but it's not. It's this just complete zigzag of roller coaster.
Yeah.
And so we like that the future, like it's the prediction of the future. I think physical therapists need to understand that like healthcare as a system also has all of these entities, and there's a power effect to these entities. And so the power effect is that the star can produce a lot more energy because it's big and it's bright and it's hot to touch. And then a little planet like us doesn't have as much energy, but we substantiate. Same with healthcare. You have some entities with more power. At this point, it's payers and providers. Some things have less power, like therapists and allied health professionals, and some things have even less power, right? Like, but the nonlinearity of it is if you're cruising along and if you're trying to get a little bit more, like having a higher stake at the game, then you have to understand the interconnectedness of the entire system. You have to understand what these stakeholders do, and you have to essentially, like in layman's terms, play the game, right? That would give you a much better position at the complexity.
Yeah. Step one, understand what game you're playing. Like I've said this, this isn't the conversation we'll get into, but I am like you said, I think I agree. I am a hopeful optimist, but also like a realist. Like there's a Dungeons and Dragons, like that 9, like, are you neutral, evil, chaotic, good, whatever. I'm sort of in the middle, but I'm like, listen, this sucks, but we got to do something about it. Bitching is you're allowed to bitch for 24 hours when something bad happens. Then you got to put your shoes on and you got to go do something about it. There was actually, that was one thing they found when they looked at women and men going through Navy SEAL training. It wasn't strength, endurance, cardiovascular fitness. It was like who rallies around they called it the suck. It was like, hey, we have to carry a log on the beach and we're cold and sandy and wet. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to sing a song called Fuck You. And it's going to be about fuck the log. And we're just going to sing the song. It's like, because this sucks right now, but we're going to have beers in a week.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, between now and then, there's going to be a lot of suck. And how do we get there? But
David
also,
Goggins, man.
Yeah. Lift the log, though. Like, let's lift the log. Like, we have to lift the log. Or cut the log up into pieces. Or make the log out of aluminum now so it's lighter. Or, like, what can you control? You can't change the log. Okay. What can we change?
So embracing the suck is the game, right? Like you just
that's the game. That's the game. You're in this. You chose this.
Right.
Like when you signed up for the poster next to the Navy SEALs, you wanted the uniform and the emblem on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. It's not bad news or good news. Mm-hmm. News is, to get it, you have to go through this. Otherwise, they just hand them out on the corner, and that's not what you want. I know you signed up for the brochure, which is I show up, I help people, I get paid, I go home. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's just not as smooth as that. There's some suck to it. And that's where the episode we did this morning was choose your heart. If you don't like this, don't do it, or change the things you can change, because there's some you can't. Medicare doesn't care. It doesn't. It's not going to listen to you.
Shit. No.
In 40 years, here's my prediction. It's never going to get better. It's going to be just as crappy, maybe crappier. That's my only prediction. As bad as it is, it'll get worse.
But the difference, Jimmy, between like someone who complains and someone who actually does shit. Like before we went live, right? You were showing me like your evolution for the new year. I think that's actionable. Whether you execute on it, whether you get Misogi or not, it's still an evolution. You are refining yourself as an individual, and that is the only power you have. You have the power of one. Make yourself better. Make yourself a better fit for your environment, right? The system, again, like the system adapts, and when you can adapt and when you can't, habituate. So the habituation, like the peer models suck. They've definitely pegged you as a lowest, like as a pawn on the chessboard. Yep. And we'll continue to be pawns because we're not doing much to change that right now. Doesn't mean that in 10 years we're going to be pawns. But in order to grow from a pawn to an actual rook, right? Like you need to do shit to refine yourself as a professional. If you're in a field, learn something today that you didn't know before. Plan how you're going to climb, right? There's I'm not even sure if it's a Russian thing, but it's like I never want to be among soldiers who don't see themselves as generals in a few years, right? You don't want to surround yourself with people that are just complaining but not doing shit about it. Yeah. Like it's like we as an industry, I've never been a part of any other industries, but we suck at forecasting the future because we just want to complain about the past. But no, that's better days ahead because systems organize themselves. Like systems, self-organization is part of the complexity. It's like from order to chaos, but it's through an organization. Like truthfully, there's no such thing as chaos. Chaos is just a loosely organized system too, right? So as clinicians, like what can you do? What impact do you have? I was talking to Dana yesterday. So like Dana and I are doing this side project with MedBridge. And we're exploring the obviously value-based systems, but in terms of what can you as a practice owner do to participate in these alternative payment models? Well, like step 1, explore. Step 2, plan. Step 3, strategize. And step 4, execute. Like just go boom, boom, boom. And
wait a second. At no point in those 4 was it complain about it though. Where does the complaining go?
Oh, at all 4 steps you can complain.
Right,
about it.
in the background, and you keep moving forward.
Sure, man. Negativity bias is part of our thing, right? Like negativity saves you from that cobra in the woods that's making the noise. We're like you want to have that aversion behavior because it saves your ass. But complain and do shit. Don't complain and like just sit and groan. Like that's not actionable.
My dad was a firefighter, and I feel like my dad was like drilling me and testing me as a kid. Nothing dangerous, but like he'd put we'd be driving, he'd put me in a scenario. And there was one message that he had, which is he watched kids in a fire. He was a New York City fireman. They would hide because fire's scary and your first reaction is hide. But in a fire, that's actually, you want to get out. You don't want to hide. You can't hide from fire. So they were taught to look for kids under beds, in showers, in toy boxes, in closets. So he would drill why that's not a good idea. And I remember at like 11 years old, he was like, what's the worst thing to do in a panic situation? And I was like, I don't know, hide or he goes, no, panic. Mm-hmm. And I remember like, oh, that's a trick question, but like it stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. He goes, it's a panic situation. The situation is panic. Your response should not be the panic. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, like a minute later after I digested that, he was like, what's the second worst thing to do? And I was like, and he goes, nothing. Mm-hmm. And I was, so what's the worst thing to do in a complaining situation? Complain. What's the second worst thing to do? Nothing. So do something, right? Like,
what did Churchill say, right? When you find yourself going through hell, keep going.
Keep going. Yeah. Right. You're, yeah.
And it's tough, man. It's tough. It's a tough environment, right? Like I can see, like, so at CSM last year, we spoke, we had a panel about non-clinical jobs. And so the panelists are like all of these pegs, right? So you had a couple of academics, you had a couple of entrepreneurs, and then you had a schmuck like me, like sitting there who's like still trying to figure the shit out. And the point is, like, it's like when you are a new grad PT, or when you've been out in the field for 5 years, that extra $5,000-$10,000 you can make from a sales job, it may have a positive effect short term, but at the same time, is it teaching you skills? Is it teaching you to do something different? Is it bettering you, right? Is it helping you actualize as a professional, as a person? And if not, it's just revenue, dude. Like that $10,000 you make up at the tail end of your career, but you just spent 7 years of your life getting to this place. And now 2 years later, you're pissing and groaning, right?
Do you even like it?
Yeah, well, but
like 10 grand is a lot, but like 10 grand over 12 months.
Yeah,
that's not a big payment to do something that you don't like. I'm not saying a sales job is bad. I'm saying if you don't like it, the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So there are two, like, it's a dichotomy, right? It's a happiness in your job and happiness with your job. And most of us, like, and I've been through a couple of iterations already, right? Like I've been in the PT field for over 23 years, and I've been playing around the systems for over a decade. Happiness with your job is that, like, there's a selection bias. Like the job finds you just like you find your job. What gets most PTs to become PTs? Well, I had this experience. I broke my leg. I had an ACL tear. I really thought it was cool, so I became a PT. Like that's self-selection, dude. And then once you get into the field, you discover that you don't get to take care of the happy, motivated 16-year-olds. You get to take care of 65-year-olds with multiple comorbidities with a entire psychosocial baggage who never leave. Now,
who don't want to change.
Yeah, then
they want to have changed.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not happiness. You're not unhappy with your job. You're unhappy in your job. Change, find a different position, do home health, do whatever the fuck it is that you want to do, where you're actually actualizing on your profession. Because, like, you can always find a sales job ultimately. And again, I'm not going down on a sales job. I'm a salesperson now with like the EMR company, right? In a way, sales is good. Everybody sells, right? Daniel Pink, to sell is human, right? But sales is still part of your clinical experience. As a clinician, you're a salesman because you're selling plan of care, you're selling services, but there's always so much more. Sales is just one of the skills you have as a clinician. You also have a skill of communication. You have a skill of problem solving. You have a skill of weaving out complexity. Those are all skills, and together it makes you an expert. And expertise is this entire bucket of different vegetables sprinkled around that makes you a clinician. So when you choose to leave because you were just like, fuck it, like it's not for me. I've spent 2 years at this grind, like chop shop of a physical therapy clinic. I'm just gonna leave. No, dude, like it's not enough. Like certainly if it's been long enough and if you tried different iterations and you're like, I tried A, B, C, D, E, F, and I'm still not happy. Goodbye, sir, right?
Yeah.
But to get to that point, you just can't react. And reactance, I think, is what we do. We're losing 10% of our workforce because we are like, I'm done with this. Like that's it. I'm reacting. I'm gonna do this. I see that there's a really nice opportunity available. I'm gonna leave. Like, is that really the right choice? Like beyond the fact, like the economic stupidity of losing $250,000, plus the earnings you did not earn because you entered the graduate training. So for every year you are paying tuition, you're not earning. So like if you look at the externalities of becoming a PT, you are like down $500,000 by the time you graduate.
Yeah.
But actualize, like there's so many different settings. There's so many different ways to actualize as a professional. And if nothing else, like if you can't find a setting you're happy in, open your own clinic, put a shingle on the wall. Like if you're really personable and don't have a lot of expertise, maybe you can just provide care to these like low complexity cases that like that's your niche. Like why not? But don't just like react and say, no, not for me. I'm gonna leave.
So you talk a lot about in systems thinking, right? And a lot of times we think, like I mentioned, circuit boards, machines, but like where two people interact, that's a system too. And in between them is that space. So you mentioned, hey, if someone's in a clinical role or in an owner role, what are the signs? How does a PT, a clinician, or a clinic leader or an owner know when their system is breaking down? What are the early indicators? What are the canaries in the coal mine? What are the things, the signals that people should be looking for to know what to actually put their good attention towards instead of just complain?
I think that for me, the number one side is psychological and intellectual safety.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
You have to feel safe in your workplace, and that means you have to feel safe to express yourself, and you have to feel safe to receive feedback. That psychological safety in a workplace is essential, and a lot of times not found. And the psychological safety gets destroyed through failure of initial conditions. And just as an example, if it's an initial condition where you are set up for failure in that grind assembly line therapy place, right? Because the economics are setting you up to not be successful. So you either can become a very good hustler or a very shitty bullshit artist. But you're not going to become a successful professional when the economics are set up against you, against your human capacity to provide valuable care. But the psychological safety on expression is also the fact that if you are in a clinic and you can't go to your administrator or your manager and say, like, dude, I'm just not feeling this. Like I'm breaking down. Like it's making me like go bananas. I'm like really not in a good place. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, like that, you're not in a good setting. Like, because you have to have this freedom and safety to communicate how you are, and in return receive feedback from your manager to say, like, you're just a wimp. Like, suck it up, motherfucker. Like it's okay to do that too, because ultimately a lot of people don't have the capacity or the resilience that you're saying about Navy SEALs, right? The Navy SEAL can take a cold water plunge and stay in a 50-degree temperature water for hours, not because they're better or bigger than you are. It's because they have the capacity to externalize. They have the capacity to distance themselves from the immediate suck because they are forecasting that beer in a week.
Yeah.
If you're in a clinic and you are being asked to fulfill a specific quota of X amount of patients per day, because ultimately you have to see patients, you have to generate revenue, you have to make the clinic profitable. Profit is good, money is good, and volume is good. But if you don't have the capacity, you have to have a communication with your manager and say, like, dude, I'm not feeling this. And the manager should say, like, well, maybe you need to attend a few CEU courses so you become more comfortable managing patients. Maybe you need to utilize ancillary stuff because you can't do this alone. You shouldn't do this alone. PTs try to do everything by themselves. From point A to point Z. We onboard patients, we design plan of care, we designate plan of care, we execute plan of care, we complete plan of care. Why the fuck are we doing everything? We're the only profession that does that. But your clinic has support staff. Maybe have a conversation that we need to add additional support staff so they can oversee this low value or redundant care capacity. But that's communication, right? And if you don't have that safety or that capacity to talk to your peers, to talk to your superiors, find a different setting, find a different position.
Right. Yeah, there's analyzing the system, figuring out what's not working and bringing a solution. And then there's also complaining that this sucks. Yeah. And one of them does not on the first iteration or one try get to a solution, but the other one definitely doesn't. I know it feels good in the moment. I've been guilty of it myself. Like, this sucks. Yeah. Everything sucks. I want to go home. Let's throw in the towel. But I think you bring up a good point, is if this place isn't ever going to listen to me. I've worked at places like that. Yeah. You bring up good points, Jimmy. Okay. Are we going to do anything about it? No. Yeah. Cool. I don't want to be here anymore. But to be honest, like, I'm able to dissociate, be like, got it. This boat isn't going in the direction that I want. I'm going to get off this boat. I've looked at it. I've looked at the course. It's not good. Yeah. I'm not going to yell at the person to change course. I've already tried whispering. They're not listening. Therefore, I have decided to look for a new boat.
Dude, I think Annie Duke had a book called Quit, right?
She was the poker player, pro poker.
Like she's a poker player with a PhD in psychology, right? Like, or something like that. But quitting is not against the rules.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's perfect that that she would have psychology in poker, because like folding means giving up. But we all look at poker and we're like, if you don't got it, fold.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And
don't sit in a bad hand.
Yeah. Because you're just gonna go. You're gonna keep putting more in, and you're gonna lose more. Seth Godin had a book, and he was smart because he writes really short books. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then you got to buy the next book. Mm-hmm. But he had one called The Dip. Mm-hmm. And essentially it was like sort of like talking about the suck, which David Goggins, who was a Navy SEAL, talks about. And he's like, listen, I worked at a radio station. My job was like play music, give away beer and concert tickets. Like, that's a cake job, still a job. Mm-hmm. And he's like, listen, no matter what your job is, there's going to be a dip into stuff that you have to do but don't love to do, but it's got to get done because that's your job. Pick your Beck's dip. Understand, do you like this suck or not? And if you're like, this ain't for me, like if I taught elementary school students, I think I'm smart enough, but I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like the stuff that a good elementary school teacher would like. The dip would kill me. And Seth Godin was like, it's okay to get out. Yeah. This stay with a job 30 years because you're loyal. That's not a great idea. If it's not a good fit, it's not. I don't think an employer wants you to stay for 30 years if you're miserable either. On the flip side,
I don't think you have anything to give to your employer anymore after X amount of years, unless you're always growing and even in that job.
That's a good point.
Right? Like you don't like, and I'll use an clinical analogy, right? Like there's a law of diminishing of returns when it comes to clinical care. You know that visit 2 in a PT clinic is very different than the visit 14 in terms of what you're getting out of your encounter, because there's diminishing returns. You become indoctrinated into that structure, into that setting, but you're not getting the same level of skill as you were initially, because now you are the expert patient. Like you gain expertise as being a patient. On a job, unless your job has specific milestones, growth milestones, developmental milestones, you after a certain amount of years, you just ingrain into this minutia of monotony. Like, I'm going to do this, and then you become that assembly line worker. A neurosurgeon becomes an assembly line worker, right?
Yeah.
There was an article a couple of years ago, actually more than a couple of years ago, but it looked into that the diagnostic expertise and efficiency of physicians leaving residency, and they looked into that, like the diagnostic accuracy after a certain, like I think after 5 years, diagnostic accuracy plateaus, and after 10 years it wanes. Like so in a way, like you have 5 years to ramp up to become efficient, to become good, right. And then you can cruise along for a few years. You can kind of, and then you just like you stop giving a fuck, because then like, yeah, I'm a neurosurgeon. I'm gonna go get this glioblastoma out. I've done 3,000 of them. Like it's like, if you haven't learned anything, but
right.
I think as a neurosurgeon, you have the capacity, you have the diversity in your profession that allows you to expand to different medium. As a physical therapist, if you're working in that like assembly line outpatient clinic, you're not even seeing the diversity because you're indoctrinated into this like volume and like managing, and like you no longer get satisfaction for what you think you've entered the profession for. Then find something else. Like be your own actualizer.
Yeah, I was looking at that in radio, not to bring everything back, but that's my only other experience was things were getting very homogenized. I ran a local radio station for a number of years. I made all the decisions. And then these big companies were coming in and they were buying more and more stations, and they were going, we don't need 100 dudes in 100 cities making 100 different decisions. We're going to make one decision and then multiply it by 1,000, and then you just execute. And I looked and I was like, that's not fun anymore now. I'm here to do the radio station was a giant social test in real time. Awesome. All the ideas that I have were like, this is going to be cool. And they flop. I was like, why did it flop? Or this idea, I'm like, it's not going to go anywhere. And it blows up. And you're like, why did that blow up and this didn't? And the answer a lot of times was, I don't know. Let's try it again. And they were going to take that away. And that's when I started looking for the door. I'm not going to be able to contribute to the outcome here, except also my name's on the door. So if this doesn't work, I get fired. So I take all the risk in failure and none of the reward in success. I have no part to play in either. And that was demeaning. Well, demeaning. It was just like, it was deflating.
So I can tell you have layers of complexity, Jimmy. Have you ever read Nassim Taleb's Skin in the Game?
No, I've heard of it though. What's that one about?
Nassim Taleb, like, so it's like, I always like to read books, and then I want to read about the people who wrote these books, because that's almost just as interesting, right?
Yeah, go one layer deep.
Yeah, so this dude was like, he's a mathematician that entered the financial market and understood like the Black Swan events, like that the most of the catastrophic or most of the fundamental changes in the economics and in the market happened from these isolated events, like 2008, like so he has a book called Skin in the Game. Essentially, is that it's the agency and autonomy, your ability to control your environment. But then he has another one that's called Anti-Fragile, which, delicious. I mean, it's like the the book is like a cheeseburger with like some real turkey bacon on top of it. The anti-fragile is that, like exactly what you were discussing, is that when you have the sock, like the fragility, the ability, if you collapse under the first point of adversity, if you crumble down and you start crying in a corner and saying this sucks, you need to admit that things suck. You actually need to tell yourself that right now we're going through a shitty period. Maybe the shitty period lasts a year, and maybe the shitty period lasts a fucking decade. But it's okay, because like the fragility comes for those who succumb to this shitty period instead of for those who are able to persevere. And those who persevere, they learn every fucking element from this shitty period, because that makes them stronger, man. Like, and I hate the cliches of like the steel is forged through heat, but it is, dude. Like you have one life. I'm kind of like, I'm an agnostic, non-practicing agnostic, right? So like this is like, to me, this is it. Like you're born, you go through these 82 years of shit, and then you die, and then you become dust, right? Like, so
shit is the game. That's the thing.
Yeah. Like the shit is the game. So like even if you're going through it, like the shitty chapter of your book is still a shitty chapter. Like it's like you're writing it. Like it will be maybe the chapter you want to flip later on, but it's your chapter. So
yeah, that's where like I don't read it or pay attention to them as much as I should. Like I'm not a practicing stoic. But whenever I come across like a Ryan Holiday, I'm like simply changing what is this? Why is this happening to me? To what am I learning from this? Is a wild flip. Mm-hmm. Like it's weird. Like I've had people say like your personality, like, you know, I'm pretty high energy. I'm all over the place. I jump from topic to topic. And then I tell them what sport I've been doing since I graduated from college. Now in high school, I did immediate reaction sports, baseball, hockey, tennis. Like I want immediate return on investment. I want, you know, instant gratification. And then after college, marathon running and long distance triathlon. And they're like, that's weird because there's no one to talk to. There's no one watching you. There's no return on investment for days, weeks, or months. And I was like, yeah, it slowed everything about my thinking down to how do you feel? What should you change now? So 3 miles later, you don't feel like crap. And how are you going to get to the finish line? And there's no help. And I was like, I loved it. So I wish I don't know that I would have been able to do the long distance stuff as a 21-year-old, but post 21-year-old, it was great for my mental health.
Oh, dude! Like, so I'm a marathoner, right? Like, and I'm probably the world's second worst marathoner. Like if you, like, my wife, she comes and cheers me on. Like, and she, like, I just ran Madison Marathon, like, in 25, and she's like, I can fucking see you from a mile away. Like this complete graceless, like stumbling around, like this, like little, like bag of bones, like moving forward, just hoping for momentum to take you through the finish line. Like there's, you notice, like you're a distance runner, so you know that there's a point where, like mile 18, where everything sucks. Wow. Like you like your mental state is shit, like everything aches, and you just want to be done. But the ability to go through that, because like in another 7 miles, you're going to be at the finish line, and there's going to be cold beer, and then you're going to sign up for the next one, right? Like it's
well, the thing is, like people have said, if you sign up for the marathon or triathlon for the finish line, you might not get there. If you have to learn to like the training is the gift. It's not the medal. It's not the t-shirt. In fact, when I put on an old race shirt, I think about where I was training. I rarely think about race day. I just gave advice to another PT who did her first Ironman. And I said, this is a catered workout. This is not a race. This is your success or failure has already sort of been determined, unless like you get hit by a car on the race course or something. But like you're not going to pull out 7 miles in a row of running 2 minutes faster per mile out of nowhere. You're probably not. So it's already been determined. Put it on cruise control. Whatever you've been able to do that now. Yeah. And it's a mind shift.
It's and I agree with you completely that the training is the gift. The training is like, it gets you out of the house, and if you train for, like, I run Chicago Marathon frequently, and so you do your longest miles in the hottest days in Chicago.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more delicious than struggling, like just like completely like dying. Yeah. And, like you have to do a 20 miler and you're in mile 6 and you're already dying. You know it's going to be a long, like sweating, like the eyes are burning, but then you come home and you know what? Like you feel like shit, and then you feel better, and then you recover. You're resilient, man.
Do you know what I do on race day? I play games, right? And I like messing with other people in good ways. I don't ever actually like throw people off. But in triathlon, you have to wear your race number turned around, so it's like on your back, right? And your first name is below your number. So I'll be passing someone on the bike and I'll go, Alex, looking great, baby. How we doing today? And I love watching people's face go, how does he know who? And then all of a sudden you see the light bulb go on and there's that laugh between both of us.
Yeah.
And that propels the crap out of me because we're both in pain. I don't care that you're 20 minutes, you started 20 minutes behind me or 20 minutes in front of me. Mm-hmm. We are in the suck together. I got news for people near me. We're not going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
We're just trying to go home. That's the gift. The training is the gift.
It's the best.
Fun with it.
I have a blessing of being ridiculously slow too. So I'm like,
you get more race. You get to do more race.
Oh yeah, I'm getting my money's worth, man. Like I'm getting like my 4.5 hours worth of money's worth like that. But usually at the last couple of miles, like I'm just schlepping along, and it's all of the other schleppers like me just trying to get there, right? And you just start talking to me like oh yeah, I'll get you to the next mile, and you get me to the mile after that. Like we'll do it together, and you meet some like awesomest people. There was a dude in Chicago Marathon, and maybe like I think 21, that had a bib, and it was like this was my last marathon, and I'm like, dude, why is this your last marathon? And he's like, I've run 21, and they've all been my last marathons. So
yeah,
like it's that, right? Like it's the people you meet, right? But wouldn't you agree? And just to pivot a little bit, but it is about the people too. Like a lot of times, like so you were talking about like that. Changing the framework from Stoics and how Ryan Holiday tells you to reframe things. Now, the best reframing that I learned is that whenever you have to tell yourself, I have to, you have to change it to I get to. Like when you have to take out the trash and your wife tells you take out the trash and you say, oh, fuck, I have to take out the trash. It's like, oh, I get to take out the trash, right? I get to walk outside and like, it just immediately changes the perspective that if you get to actually wake up in the morning, that's already a blessing. If you get to work, that's a blessing, right?
I think you hit a point in life, and some people, fortunately or unfortunately, hit it earlier, where I really didn't lose anybody in my family until I was like in my teens. Like either my grandparents passed before I was born, or they were just around. And I think losing people or seeing people, like my dad had a stroke 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So seeing him lose some abilities, that puts things in perspective. Like, otherwise, I ran through like super privileged walking through life my first 20, 30 something years, losing a grandmother and being like, well, she was old, like that happens. And then you start to see like other people like lose parents at a young age. And you're like, they had that perspective shift way earlier. Gravity is not equal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like gravity for someone who I imagine, loses a parent as a child is vastly different than later, or someone who lives in poverty then gets out. They had this perspective, and that can be a superpower or something that drains you. Like these are simple, not easy concepts.
Well, I think that like it's also the culture and the country we live in, Jimmy. I'm an immigrant, so for me, it's an easy perspective of coming from former Soviet Union to know like how ridiculously spoiled we are. That's why like,
we don't know because we're in the pot. We've all we've known.
Oh, we don't, and like so. If you think about it, like my biggest blessing, my aunt who immigrated to the United States earlier would mail us like bubble gum, right? And it was such a commodity in Soviet Union to have bubble gum because like you didn't have bubble gum, so like we would chew bubble gum for days, and like in the evening because it was a sign of state, right? Like you were a hierarchy. If you had bubble gum or you didn't have bubble gum. And if you show up to school chewing something, you're cooler. So like you in the evening, you would put it on the windowsill, and in the morning, you would resume chewing your gum until it would just fucking disintegrate. But that gum would last you days, like, and if you're careful, weeks, because like that was a privilege to have it. My first and only pair of jeans when I was a kid came 6 sizes too big. And then my grandfather had a sewing machine, so he sewed it in, and I would fucking grow into these jeans for the next 4 years. Like it would expand and would lengthen with me. But like I didn't feel neglected. I didn't feel deprived because at least I had jeans. Somebody else didn't, right?
Right. And that's you need that perspective. It's like I could have nothing or could have something. I wore number 89 playing high school hockey because there was this player, Alexander McGillney. And he was on the famed Red Army limbs, him, Sergei Fedorov, and Pavel Bure. And I believe it was McGillney. And I didn't know this story. I just saw them as great hockey players. And I assumed, I don't know. I looked at Ivan Drago. That was my only experience with Russians, right? He had this lab where everything was great. And then there was this story where Alexander McGillney was playing hockey, and the skate was so big, he had to wear a shoe, not several socks. He had to wear a shoe in the skate, and he didn't know any different. By the time he had skates that fit, it was over. Like, you couldn't catch this kid. But if you had said, we're going to put this kid into skates that are like 9 sizes too big, it wasn't an option. Yeah. We couldn't get one that was a little tight or a little loose. He only knew just absolute uncomfortability. By the time you gave him real skates, it was over. Like, the NHL was too easy for some of those guys.
But it goes into that whole embracing the suck, right? Like, sometimes the culture, sometimes it's the society that puts the suck on you. And then, like, your medium, your baseline is to be in the suck. Then it's just variable degrees of the suck. And you just want to suck a little bit less than everyone else, right?
Right.
But here, like, and again, it's a different perspective, but like, maybe it's immigrant optics. But we are so fucking blessed to have everything we have, right? We like on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're continuously fighting over the last 2 chapters where nobody's fighting over the safety and stability. And
right. It's a good point. Yeah.
Like, we don't have these problems. We're creating our own fucking problems because, like, all the problems that you can have that people do have, we don't. We're good. Like, it's like, even when things suck, they don't suck like they do for somebody else. So
I remember I planned for a triathlon in Lake Placid, and I think the race was in like September, and it was supposed to be cooler. And then all of a sudden a freak cold front came in. So now you have a bunch of people who are supposedly all about embracing the suck, right? These are Ironman triathletes doing a half Ironman. And we're standing on the edge of Lake Placid, like in the morning, ready to go, and it's cold. And Lake Placid is a very small town. I went out the day before. I was like, I didn't bring gloves. It's supposed to be 90 degrees. Like, I didn't bring gloves. No gloves in Lake Placid. So I did what my mom would have done, which is like, I cut some holes in socks, man. I just made mittens, like make mittens out of socks, right? I had lots of socks. And I remember people standing on the shore of Lake Placid. It was so cold out, but the lake was still warm. There was like fog on it, and people were bitching. And I'm like, do you think the race organizers did the weather? Like, you signed up for a hard race. I got bad news. You're probably not going to set your personal record today. But that line from, oh God, who said it? Everybody wants to be a gangster until it's time to start to do gangster shit. Yeah. It's like, you wanted to be an Ironman. You want to wear the t-shirt and get the tattoo. We're here. This is some sideways next level stuff, and you're mad about it. And I remember being like, nah, tomorrow's going to be you're going to earn tomorrow's t-shirt. Tomorrow's shirt is going to be worth more than the one that had good weather.
And let me ask you this, right? Like the things that are maybe you didn't your PR, but the things that were most miserable are the things you remember the most, right?
Hell yeah. I assumed I was going to wear those gloves just for the bike, and I wore them it was that cold, where I was wearing the socks on my hands while I was running. I'm like, you know what? Go quit. There's a nice that's why they make you ring the bell, I think, in the SEALs. It's like, I need a physical representation of you quitting. Go sit in that thing over there. There's hot soup and there's a heater. Go sit over there.
Yeah.
How do you instill this in a clinician who maybe has known nothing? I'm not saying academics isn't rigorous or trying, but like in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, failing a test doesn't take food away. How do you instill like resilience in people who are like, well, now I'm going through suck. Like, how do you help someone gain that?
I will tell you, like, I don't think there's a clear recipe, but I think that there's at least a trait, which is absolute honesty and absolute transparency. Like, just be honest with people. I think it's one of those primitive senses, but I think all of us can sense bullshit and all of us can sense. Yeah. All right. And so be honest with people. You have capacity. Some things are controllable and some things are not controllable, right? Modifiable and non-modifiable factors.
Yes.
Like, and so in a clinician, the modifiable and non-modifiable factors are such that if you are in a place, in an organization that doesn't have financial fortitude to pay you more, maybe they can give you the ability to actualize in a different way. Maybe you can organize a community event, maybe whatever the fuck it is, right? But that's working together. That's communication, and that's transparency, and that's psychological safety, where you have safety to communicate that I know you want a pay bump. I can't give you a pay bump. But what I can do is I can put you in front of a basketball team, right? Like, and you can work with younger athletes. Or what I can do is I can potentially make you an administrator next year when the job opens. Or I don't have anything to give you, but I can call my friend across the street who has a different clinic, who has more money. And I want to see you thrive. I think I've been in a administrative roles. Pretty much, I opened my own clinic 1 year out of PT school. And then I've been managing and growing different legacy providers, right, for years. And my responsibility was always to the people that I worked with. Like, and I financially, I probably lost from it. And career-wise, I probably lost from it because I never grew into that CEO level position because I had a territory. I had 5 clinics. I had 20 clinicians, right? But the 20 clinicians that I work with, or the 5 clinicians I work with, or the 1 clinician I work with, my responsibility was to them because I was given the power to affect their lives and their careers. And I was going to do everything in my capacity to watch them grow. And if I didn't have the capacity to do that, then I was going to be honest with them and to guide them that, like, find a different job, find a different position, because that was my responsibility. And it probably sucked for people who were paying me to just maximize the whatever I can to squeeze all the juice out of these people.
Right.
But I slept at night, and I feel like I did the right thing by people that I worked with because I was a human being and I was working with other human beings, right? So
this is not what I thought we would get into. I had all these like systems. So we're gonna have to bring you back pretty soon to get into like systems talk and things like that. But I feel like I feel like a conversation like this needs to happen with leaders or clinicians long before we teach them, this is how you open a new patient in your EMR. This is how you discharge someone. This is how you send them their plan of care. This is the operating system of a human, right? If you could instill how to get through the suck to someone, in theory, what could you throw at them that they're not going to be able to process?
Yeah. But I think as an administrator, and I can review the complexity in the next 3 minutes before we live off, right? As an operator, you are operating like humans are not pegs in a machine. Humans are themselves bundles of complexity. And so managing this complex relationship, you can maximize the effort and you can maximize the output from this human by building a human relationship through communication, right? That will actually maximize how much you can get out of this individual, not because you are trying to, but because the individual will give it to you. Because that, like, we are first order primates that have the luxury of living on this planet for 80 plus years. And once you have sincerity and once you have honesty with someone else, you are all going to work together towards something that you're building, right? Like, or you're going to admit that there's nothing for you to work with. In terms of complexity, like there's all these nodes that need to be interconnected. And they're not connected linearly. Like some are connected more, some are connected less. There's valence, there's power, and that changes. That there's always entropy, right? There's always change, but you don't always have the vision of it, but you need to have an awareness of it because entropy and complexity emerges. Like it goes from nothing to something, right? But you need to have enough capacity to adapt and habituate to this entropy, to this emergence. So that adaptiveness and adaptability is an internal trait. That's resilience. That's you're embracing the suck. And then embrace system dynamics. System dynamics change. If you're in a system that's a rigid system dynamics are much more controlled. If you're in a system that's more of an open system dynamics are much more loosely controlled. It's that the book by Ravi, not... balloon shots, like, so the book is not Chantal, but it's like the phase transition, right? Like there's water and then there's vapor and then there's plasma. The plasma is what happens right before you're transitioning phases from water to solid, from liquid to solid. Be that plasma, be that like the intermediary where you're neither here nor there, but you have the capacity to become solid when you need to and to become liquid when you need to. Like you have to have the capacity as a human being and then life will be good because life continues to turn, right? And like, and there's most of the other factors in that complex systems are not under your control. You only control the system that's here. Like that's the only one you have control over. So.
The only consistent is change, right? That's the stupid cliche, but that's you can't boil it down any more simple than that. Like those are the things that are so cliche, but you're like, no one's been able to improve them. That's why they're repeated so many damn times. It's because you can't boil them down to something more basic. Those are the elements of like life.
That is life.
What was that book again? That from the guy who wrote Anti-Fragile? What was the other book again? I want to write that.
Skin in the Game.
Skin in the Game.
Nassim Taleb, Skin in the Game. So all his books, like I think it should be a mandatory read for any human that works to serve. Black Swan is about these outlier events that actually have a fundamental effects on us. So Black Swan events, like somebody dying in your family, that's a Black Swan event, right? Like it's an unanticipated, but it's impactful. Stock market crashing is a Black Swan event. PTs transitioning from fee-for-service model into more of a capitated risk-based models. It's a Black Swan event because like sooner or later, the CMS is going to come in and say, fuck it, we don't see value in PT at all. We're just going to continue to reduce your fee schedule by 15% until you're getting paid nothing. And then are you willing to continue to maximize your volume, or you're going to start to explore like, look, I'm going to take on some risk and I'm going to take on this at-risk population because I know my skill set, but it will happen. So yeah, Nassim Taleb is the man. There's so much good reading. Like I guess the biggest blessing for me in that like that late 40s of my life is that capacity to go on a long run and to actually listen to an audiobook or to read in the evening. But yeah, Jimmy, like this has been a pleasure, dude. Like and for what it's worth, like you have a voice. I think your voice resonates with the community. You also have a community that listens to you. So you have a lot of capacity and change, ability to be the agent of change, because once you have people's ears, like make others actualize. Like N equals one. Like it takes one individual trying to change himself or herself that will have a tidal effect on the entire community. So
I see a lot of ceiling for the profession, even though a lot of times, myself included, we focus on how the floor is going down. I'm like, yeah, but I can't control the floor, but I want to connect myself to the ceiling. And the funny part is the people who bitch about CMS reducing payments or inflation, pretty much eating away. I'm like, okay, that's where I go back to, like, not to mention too many Navy SEALs, but Jocko Willink. He's like, gonna force me to get stronger, and it's gonna eliminate the people who won't change. Good. Mm-hmm. The net negative, the net result is positive for our profession because it's gonna wipe out the people who won't change. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need a flood.
Maybe in the notes for this episode, include that 5-minute video he has on YouTube about good. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's my go-to video whenever things suck and I'm down on my luck and I'm like, fuck it, this is just not good.
I mean, I lost my job for the first time. I got fired at 45, 364 days. I got fired the day before my first. And honestly, the next morning I woke up and I literally was just like, good. I was not a good fit. I wasn't. I could be mad at the people who were like, you're not a good fit here. But I was like, they're right. I didn't like it. I was not good and didn't like it. It's different if I was like, I'm not good at it, but I want to be. That's different. That's how I was in the beginning of radio. I was like, I'm pretty terrible, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to be less crappy today. But like, yeah, I will. That dialect when he was like, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say good. He's like, why do you think I'm saying good? I don't know. You hate, like when things suck. It's like, no. Mm-hmm. I can't control that. I can control. All right, good. Like that whole line, we don't go to war with what we need. We go to war with what we have.
Yep.
Like my marketing budget, the radio station I ran grossed between $5 and $7 million a year. Mm-hmm. My annual marketing budget was $0. What do you mean? If I wanted to do a promotion around t-shirts, I needed to create a promotion that was so valuable in attention that I could get someone to pay for the t-shirts and margin. And I hated that at first because there were radio stations in my market that had 6-figure budgets. It made me crafty because the minute your budget went away, you were done. I knew how to make fire. You were handed fire. I knew how to rub 2 sticks together and build fire. You don't want to compete against that dude.
And now you can apply it to different practice, right? Now
you don't want. On day 1, you want to compete against that dude because he's got no fire. On day 365, when he can create fire from nothing, that's a dangerous dude. That's danger.
And you also have to have enough vision that, like, you may not be able to create fire today.
but we're going to learn.
It's nothing that in a year, dude. It's like it's been a blast. It's awesome. So keep making that fire, dude, and keep running and keep doing everything else.
We'll get you back on the show and we'll talk specific systems, because I feel like PTs don't talk in systems, but they live in systems whether they like them or not. And systems are human to human, or human to computer, and computer to computer, and then computer back to human. These are all systems. It's wherever things are interconnected. What's your parting shot? What's the last? What your parting shot? The last idea, concept. We always do that. What's the last thing you want to leave with the audience? Could be a quote, could be a whatever, just an idea.
I think wake up in the morning and express one point of gratitude to anything and everything. Like I'm grateful for my coffee today. So like today I have a Trader Joe's winter blend, which has peppercorns and something else in it.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for this. So show gratitude.
Alex, appreciate the time, man. Thanks for the discussion. This woke me up. I love it.
Awesome. Good. Thank you.
That's it for this one, but we're just getting warmed up. Smash follow, send it to a friend, or crank up the next episode. Want to go deeper? Hit us at ptpintcast.com. Or find us on YouTube and socials at PT Pintcast. And legally, none of this was advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. See, Keith, we read the script. Happy now?